to Draw with Nick. I'm a children's illustrator, and over the last year I've been working with the Old Royal Naval College in Greenwich, exploring some of the hidden secrets and stories behind the painted hall, and some of the lives of the people that used to live here too, just like Jack McCurdy, who's in fact the youngest person that did ever live in the Old Royal Naval College, or hospital as it was called then. Each day before I start working, first thing I'd like to do is clear my desk, and then I normally do a quick exercise, no more than about 10-15 minutes, where I draw the first thing that jumps into my mind. It's a little exercise just to loosen up my imagination and have some fun. And I thought, as while we're all at home, maybe this is something that you'd like to join in with me and draw along. Anyhow, today, after thinking about Jack and his life at sea, the first thing that came into mind was a crab. And for that, I think we'll need a pencil, a rubber, and a couple of paintbrushes. I'm going to use watercolour, but you could equally use felt tip. And here's my watercolours. I'm also going to use some crayons. I like the effect that when you mix crayons and watercolour together sometimes. It adds a good texture. These are the colours I'm going to be using, mainly reds and browns, and then a green and purple and blue as well. But you can choose any colours you like, because everyone's crab will be unique. Right, to get started, I'm going to draw the shape of the crab, which is a sort of semicircle. He's going to be running, I think he's going to be running along at the bottom of the sea. So I'm going to have him at a slight angle and draw a line like that at a diagonal, not quite along a straight line. And about halfway along, at the same distance down, I'm going to make a mark like that, and then draw a semicircle, or just a little bit bigger than a semicircle, swooping round and coming back in up to the top there. And along the straight line, I'm going to go about a third of the way along, put a mark, and then again about a third of the way along, put a mark there. And coming up from just next to that, on the side, a bit like at the letter J, I'm going to go up about that far like that. How are you doing? Now remember, you can pause the video anywhere along as you're drawing along with me, and just draw at your own pace. And coming back down, more like the letter L this time. So going up here, the J, coming down, and L. And I've gone slightly higher on one side than the other, just slightly. And on the top, I'm going to do some nice big circles, like that. That's going to be his beady eyes, so we could put a smaller circle inside, and then just right in the middle. Now, how many legs does a crab have? It has two arms up at the top, sort of here and here, with the big claws on it, and then it's got, I think it's 8 more legs, so that's 10 altogether, including its claws. So if we put one here and one here, just either side of that halfway mark we drew earlier, and then quite quickly, in 2 parts, I'm going to draw the leg and a little foot. We're only going to have one touching the ground, so it looks like he's running along a lot of speed, and then just quickly draw in the other. Remember, it mustn't touch the ground, and we need 4 going this side and 4 going that side, so we need another 3. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And again, do pause the video at any point if I'm going too fast. I'm drawing these very quickly and slightly different angles to give the idea that he's running. And sometimes the quicker you draw and just make one quick mark, gives the idea of lots of energy. So here he goes, running around on the sea floor. Now for his arms, for his claws, I'm going to draw these a bit more slowly and make them a bit wider. Quite short, but just a little bit wider. and then again go up and a bit wider. And on the top, because the claws are going to be so big, give him a little cup to hold the claw. So here, do a slightly different angle. So he's waving his arms around. And then the cup. Right, now for the claw itself, to help get the shape, I'm going to draw like an egg shape. Going round, coming back in. And the same over here. Going round, coming back in. Now that's not quite a claw yet, but if we go just above the eye, and do like a small smile, about a third of the way in again, and from there just draw a line going straight up. And the same this side, little smile, and straight up. Let's get our rubber and rub that bit out. We're almost done. How's yours coming along? There we go. And for the thumb on his claw, put a little point there. And a little point there, about 2/3 of the way up. And we're just going from this point round and come back in and just curve the bottom bit there. So we start with the curve this time, curve and then loop it round. And there's our thumbs for the claw. I think he just needs a nice smile. There we go, and a couple of little cheeky, add to his cheeky grin. And for his mouth, we can do it like a U, the letter U on the side, and there he is. Now to add a bit more of a feel that he's underwater, let's put a couple of stones on the seabed below. There we go. And maybe some seaweed just behind. Swirly seaweeds coming up like that. Brilliant. Great. Okay, let's start adding the colour. For this I'm going to use an orangey red on my brush. And as I get started, before I start putting down lots of colour, I'm just going to draw a circle up at the top on his claw here, and a bit like a upside down tear, following the shape of the claw as we come down here. I'll do that the other side. Circle and shape the upside down tear, and we'll leave that wide as we quickly and just nice and loosely. If you're using felt tips, try and do it as evenly as possible and keeping within the lines. But you can be quite loose because, again, sometimes not filling in everything and keeping your sketchy line just adds to that feel of energy and that the drawing is alive. There we go. And for his legs, we can just literally do a very quick stripe down one side of each leg. And this doesn't even need to fit fully in the line. Adds that sense of movement. And we'll leave his eyes for the moment. We'll just come down from underneath them here and bring the colour across in our body of our crab. Right, and again, don't be afraid to leave just a couple of gaps. There. Now while that's drying, because we can draw back into that in a minute, we can move to another area of the picture and colour in the seaweed and the rocks quickly. So for the seaweed, I'm going to go for like a nice light green, and I'm just going to do two of them. Leave the one in the background as an outline, just to give the idea that it's there. So the colour we're using is highlights rather than filling in everything, and it just helps you read the drawing and your eye move around. Now, as this is just a playful crab, we can make our stones any colour we like. So I'm going to choose purple and blue, I think, but you choose whatever colour comes to mind. There we go, I'll put a bit of purple in the one at the front. And some blue. For the big one just next to it. A bit more water on that. Again, if you're using felt tips, just try and make it nice and even. There. And while we've got the blue, you can put a splash just on his eyes, start waking him up there, getting more beady and running around. Okay, now we've got the main bulk of the colour down. I'm going to use the crayons to give a bit more texture, and we can quickly draw in the base of the sea underneath him, the sand. Base of the ocean, sorry, not the sea. And some by the rocks. And just where his foot's touching, we could add a little bit of orange just to give a shadow. And the same with the rocks. Just helps lift them up off the page. And around his eyes, I'm going to take a red pencil and just draw around that. This is to just emphasize his beady eyes and make him more lively. And inside, just put a slightly light orange. Just with a rough line, go round. And the same on the claw, we can bring around the edges, and we can leave a bit in the centre because it's like the light and it gives the shape that it's moving around, and it's a 3D shape. There we go. And when you look at a crab's shell, sometimes they have some markings, and also it could help bring some character to our friend here. So I'm just going to bring some circles in on his claw, and it can work a bit like tone, because if you do it around the edges, and again on his shell there. And keep them bigger on one side and then a bit smaller on the other. And again, as I say, it sort of gives the idea of the tone working around his body and makes him look a bit more real. Shading just under his legs. Oh, a couple of marks on this claw. There we go. And if you like, you could even add a little bit of tone coming round. Good, and we're almost done. Put a bit on his claw there. I think he's using our pencil just to highlight his shoes there a bit more. Or you could use a black crayon or black felt tip. And we're almost there. And I think just to really give that feel of being underwater, there's one thing missing. Rather than drawing lots of blue for the water, we could just do some bubbles to give the idea of him running around and breathing, and the bubbles in the water coming up. Could you give the idea that something's behind our seaweed as well? And to lift those up as bubbles, just using a blue crayon, very lightly, just go round on the top and the bottom, or even just the bottom there, to give a little bit of shading. There. The idea of the bubbles rising up. And there is our crab running around at the bottom of the sea. How's yours getting along? And do remember, please pause the video at any point to slow down and just draw at your own pace. Once you're all finished, remember to sign your name. And if you like, once you're happy with your drawing, you can take a photo of it and ask your grown-up to share it with us on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook. And remember to use the hashtag #DrawWithNick. Don't forget to tag us in with the details coming up on the next screen. Thanks so much for drawing along, and I hope you've had fun. Join us next week for more Draw with Nick. In the meantime, have a great week and take care.